Hey there, and thank you for joining us on the Designated Pundits. I'm Bob here today with Scott, and we have a recap of MLS Matchday 14. It was a wild week. I was able to keep my head above water, gaining 0.85 units, going 3 wins, 2 pushes, and 2 losses. It was a catastrophic week on the show. 4 units down for Scott, 4 units down for Alex. Our first real losing week. We're still above water, 3.7 units in the plus as a show. I'm 10.21 in the plus. Scott, all that plus money he's been making over the past few weeks, gave that back, made a little donation.
I just evaporated everything. It's like 4 weeks of hard work.
It's
gone.
like you announced tariffs on MLS.
I did, yes. Absolutely. On myself, really. I just announced tariffs on myself.
It is what it is, guys. This is a heck of a busy week in the area. It's a heck of a busy week for both of us. So if you're looking for the really polished show that we usually put on Mondays, if you haven't missed, it's already a day late. So if that gives you any indication how our week's been going, we're here just to keep our schedule. So, come chat soccer with us. If you're watching live, drop a comment because we're going to need it. We're going to need that input from you to let us know what to talk about, to be honest. Scott.
It's a messy MLS week. It deserves a messy MLS recap. I actually really appreciate this stuff because it just keeps like the juices going, Just keeps everything going in your head. And you're just like, all right, we'll just talk about some stuff. What impressed you? What didn't impress you? Who comes out ahead?
Toronto FC came out ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what though? Like, okay, it's a 6-1 demolition of Montreal. But Montreal loses, I think, more than just the 3 points. Yeah, it's a rivalry loss, but something really broke in that team. That's a team that was losing games, even though they were putting up really spirited performances. Now they've been absolutely demolished. That's got to hurt. That's got to be more of an emotional hit to the fan base, to the players, that you're really just not good enough to compete.
Yeah, but I think that part of it was the Waterman red on that last man call.
Yeah.
I think that obviously changed the course of the game, but if you look at the XG numbers, Montreal was actually in it 2.00 to 2.19. Toronto, overperforming by a bit. You saw Bernadeschi or Insigne, Corbeau had his coming out party. We've talked about him a couple times before on the show. Both teams switched from they were playing a 5-man back line to a 4-man back line. I found that pretty interesting. But I mean, Waterman, it was a bad foul. It was a last man foul he was going to get red carded for, but he went to the ground from behind. So it was that was a red no matter what. Any place on the field that would have been a red. So he got his money's worth. I guess we could say that about that.
Yeah, the only thing he didn't do is hurt the player, but that's one of the least controversial red cards you're going to see for a while. And I think it was Bradley Wright Phillips at the recap show. He was like, hey man, just trust your goalie here. You're in a bad spot, don't get yourself thrown off, just trust your goalie. It's just such a demonstration of bad decision making. If you're a parent and you have a child, if you're a coach and you coach teams, show them this clip and be like, don't do this, because it's terrible. It's terrible decision making. There's no reason he needs to go to ground there, because even if you don't give up the goal, so okay, you prevented a goal there, but now you're red carded, and now you've put your team in a much, much worse position for the rest of the game, which is considerable.
And we saw that by the score line. Before that play, it was the 21st minute. Montreal was down 1-0.
Yeah,
you can punch back from that.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to point out later on in the game, we had 2 players leave injured for Toronto. No word on them yet. Those were Petretta and Franklin. We're gonna find out what those were. If it was just, hey, let's sub them out. They got a little bit of a knock. Who cares? We're up by a whole lot, but we're gonna have to track that over the course of the week. They're hosting Philadelphia, so it's probably not really gonna make much of a difference. I could expect that to be a blowout here. Toronto, they're giving their fans excitement and then taking it away.
Yeah, they are. Hey, speaking of Philadelphia, did you catch in the post-game interview that Ty Baribo said that he was feeling his hamstring?
I did not, although I do have to say Ty Baribo is one of the players that I'm kind of out on. He was so hot to start the beginning of the season. He's still high in the Golden Boot race, but a couple of those, including this one, were on penalties, and I haven't seen the life in him that we saw. I mean, obviously you're not going to score 4 goals in every match, but like I want to see more from him. So I've already kind of downgraded him outside of like the Golden Boot race, even though he's staying in it for now. I just think there's just other more exciting players. But no, I did not catch the Ty Baribo hamstring.
So I think he finished the game. I don't think he came out or anything like that. But he was mentioning he came in the 46th minute and played the rest of the game. So he played a half. But he was just mentioning the schedule congestion and playing, midweek and this and stuff like that. Yeah. And just casually dropped it. Yeah, at the end of the game, I was feeling my hamstring a little bit and stuff like that. But he was talking about how much confidence, whatever. I'm with you. I don't see the consistency out of Ty Baribo. The penalties, inflates the number. That is an unreliable way to get goals in a sense. Like, how often do you actually win penalties? You don't win a penalty every game. So it was kind of like, when Daniel Gazdag was in the Golden Boot race. You're like, yes.
Yeah.
As long as they continue to win penalties.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. I do want to make a correction here. I stated that Philadelphia was going to be at Toronto this weekend. That's actually not the matchup. I spoke too soon here. I scrolled 1 week ahead. They're actually hosting Nashville this week. So yeah, it matters probably even less who they have. Toronto. Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting match. Someone that we'll keep an eye on for sure. Philadelphia beating Atlanta this past week by a score of 1-0. That Ty Baribo penalty was the decision maker, and that just really has to do with Atlanta travel. They weren't in good form anyway. They imposed some heavy minute limits in the midweek game. 20 minutes in, Lennon comes out with an injury, and then the Louis Abram penalty. It's not really looking good over there. XG was close. Atlanta actually had 65% of the ball. Philadelphia did not care. I really did not find a whole lot of highlights. Demiani started out really good. And that's about all I have to say about that. I do want to talk about Chicago. Brian Gutierrez is our cover art for this. And we talked about Chicago a few weeks ago as they started, picking up form. And this is just an unpredictable team. I will tell you how I'm going to treat them, and I want you to tell me if you agree with Chicago Fire, because we saw them put up 4-1 in Charlotte, and they just were the better team. 3.99 XG, 10 of 23 shots on target. When was the last time 10 shots on target against Charlotte? And it's the Chicago Fire. Here's how I'm treating them. I can't trust them. I can't bet on them. But when I see them come across the card at a plus 445, you have to think about it. I mean, it's a complete crapshoot. But if they can do it in Charlotte, they can have a really good week just about anywhere. Jonathan Bamba, his first goal was a banger. He's like off balance as he's like falling backwards. Absolute killer in the back of the net. Gutierrez had 2 or 3 chances he could have scored on top of his goal, his penalty, and his assist. You had Gutman going down in the box. Like, everything was just exactly how Chicago Fire would have played it out. Gutman getting involved, Gutierrez just running play all over a penalty, Bamba and Zinkernagel both finding the back of the net. It's like the perfect match for Chicago Fire.
Yes. The Bamba goal, I will say, it's a nice shot. He connects with it well. I think he disguises it. Because Kalina really starts going like far post, like this is going to be a far post, curler, and it's not. And so he's caught out a little bit by the pace. Whatever. I'm waffling. Kalina should save that. It's bad. It's really bad. In fact, that miss by Kalina, like, could easily have been, in my worst of the week segment for this show. It's not good. Bamba should not have scored that goal. But okay, I want to. What you're saying about Chicago being unpredictable is totally true. I'm going to run this past you. Their home record: 1 win, 4 draws, 1 loss. Their away record: 4 wins, 3 losses. There's an incentive. I know they haven't played crazy hard teams on the road in a lot of ways. The wins that stick out to me, this one and the Dallas one, where they really came back against the Dallas, who at the beginning of the season looked better than they are. That's where I would be looking at Chicago. I'm with you. Probably shouldn't bet, but if I were to do it,
you're going to make it up on all the bets that you lose. That's the thing. I mean,
you only have to hit it once.
3-1 to Vancouver. That's a fantastic match, but then they got blown out 7-2 by Nashville. Maybe it's just like both teams to score and overs. Like, I'm trying to find a match that they played on the road where both teams, there's no match they played this week. There's no match they played on the road that was under 3 goals. No match they played on the road that both teams didn't score. Both teams score over 3.5. Like, is that the one? There were only 2 matches. Okay, so let's count this. This is week 14 now. We've played 14 games. There were only 2 games for Chicago where either team didn't score. They were both 0-0 draws. One hosting Orlando and one hosting Inter Miami. Like, how fluky is that? Every other match that they've had, both teams have scored. Yeah. And the only time it was 2 0-0 draws.
7 games, 17 goals for, 17 goals against. So
they're at NYCFC this week.
Yeah. Both teams to score? I don't know. NY, that's a whole other, at NYFC, NYCFC is a whole other thing. That stadium, that field. So I'd probably steer clear of that game, but you're right. Look, that was a good one for Chicago. I can't help but notice that Lucas is not in our chat right now telling us about how they're frauds. Shout out.
Funny how that works.
Funny how that works. Look, I think it's the same thing that we said about them before. They're on an upward trajectory. Are they there yet? No. Are they going to lose some games they should win? Yeah. Are they going to win some games that they wouldn't have won last year? Also, yeah. But
are they beating New England Revolution in the Open Cup 1-0 right now with a Jonathan Bamba 39th minute goal? Yeah.
Yeah. There's just, look, you're looking for progress with this group. They were really, really bad before. They didn't have the roster. They didn't have the coaching. They didn't have a lot of things. Now they've kind of got some stuff going. You're just looking for progress. Can they make the system work for the players they've got? Can they design a system that gets chances for their, goal scorers at things they're good at? So far, the answer to that has kind of been yes. So yeah. I don't know. If I'm a Chicago fan, I'm not that disappointed by what they're doing this season.
No, because I mean, here's the worst. The worst is when your team's bad and they're not exciting.
Yeah.
When you're losing 1-0 every weekend and you're just not scoring, you're not scoring at home, you're not scoring on the road. That's boring. If you're exciting and just kind of bad, okay, I'll take that. One thing that was bad for me was all these 0-0 draws all over the play. Austin and Vancouver, we did not see that coming at all. In fact, I did play the under on 2.5 goals, but I also had Vancouver on the draw no bet. That game was refunded to me, and that was a really interesting one. Dion took Vancouver, and the under 2.5 parlay at plus 142, cashed that out. He had a really good week this week. I wish he was here to gloat for us. Also had the under 2.5 on the Dallas Houston game. That was a nail biter because Houston won 2-0 on the road. And I was, kind of scratching that one out. But New England, San Jose 0-0. That's a game that we saw some goals. We saw some goals there. Did not happen. Nashville, DC. We saw some goals there. We saw Nashville win there. Didn't happen. San Diego, Sporting KC. I mean, these are two teams that are scoring in bunches. You had the over on 3.5 goals.
I felt so confident.
Zero.
I felt so confident about that. And I'll be honest, I had an over on Philly against Atlanta with a double chance. I felt really confident about that. I think I got toasted by the fact that both teams rolled out heavily rotated lineups. I had the over on San Diego and SKC,
who had 1.58 XG. And one thing that I find very strange, usually in these high scoring matches, like the 4-1, that had 3.99 XG for Chicago. Like the XG was spot on for the actual goal scored, like except in these bad beats. San Diego 1.58 XG, 65% possession, 5 of 10 shots on target. They were even putting shots on target. Anders Dreyer, 2 missed big chances. You don't see that. Luca Del Torre, big chance missed. You don't see that. On the other side for Sporting KC, Shapi Suleimanov hit the woodwork.
Yeah, I actually, there was a moment early in the game when Dreyer missed one of his big chances. It's a really tight angle, but he swings that left foot at it and he rolls it across the face of goal and it misses by like an inch on the back post and rolls out of bounds. I think those are really crucial moments because if that goes in, that changes the whole complexion of the game. Both teams, right? I think sometimes these games, they need something to get them going.
Yeah, that catalyst.
If you make it into the second half and you're at 0-0, that over is probably not going to happen. You're not going to have a flurry of goals from 0-0. So if, it's that thing, you just need that little bit of luck. You need something to get in and kickstart the game.
Comments here saying DC parked the bus. Yes, they did. And I was actually surprised to see how many guys they were throwing back behind the ball. They're a mess. I have no idea what their plan is. I really don't. They're like Atlanta. Like they're running around. They're getting some guys balls in space. Only 3 shots total in this match against Nashville. I mean, they didn't deserve anything, but I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what DC is doing because even when Benteke went down, do they have a second striker they're gonna put? It's so confusing to me. I have no idea how to plan for this team. And then Peltola goes off into an injury. That's not good for them.
No. That's bad. It's really bad. I'm looking at this lineup and don't really recognize a lot of the players on it. And I don't know, some of that's me that DC's just on the wrong side of the country for me. It's a team I don't have as much exposure about. But I just think this team, when you talk about the plan, it's everything from the roster build all the way down to the tactics, X's and O's on the field, right? What is happening? What is the roster supposed to be? What is the game plan supposed to be? How are they supposed to play? What happens when Christian Benteke is not available? What happens when he's not scoring goals every single game? Because defenders have kind of gotten wise to what he's about and they're making adjustments.
Yep. Yeah, it's good. It's going to be hard, and it's hard for a lot of these teams. I mean, we kind of see something similar with Inter Miami. Did you see when 2 weeks ago Suarez wasn't eligible to play, and then Fafa Picault went down? He wasn't eligible in that game, and I said I'm picking them because Fafa Picault can score, and I picked them with the over on 1.5 goals. And they don't have another striker on the roster. They just had to try something new. That's a team that has so much talent on there. But guys, we have 2 strikers, and the second one's Fafa Picault to put up with Messi. We can't do anything better. We can't pick a 16-year-old kid out of Argentina and throw him on the field and make the magic happen because it seems like that's working everywhere else on the field. And then they're lost. I mean, Inter Miami, Orlando City, they just walked all over them. 8 of 16 shots on target for Orlando. That's an Inter Miami number. But in this case, you saw Muriel, you saw Pasalic, you saw Thurhalson put it in at the death from McGuire. You saw Freeman running all over the field. I love the commentators were talking about him going to Europe, and I see it 100%. I mean, he is pedigree anyway because of who his father is. I mean, what? Ojeda, 2 missed big chances. Enrique, 1 missed big chance in a woodwork. They had 8 big chances, only scored 2. This game could have been 9-0.
Yeah, if Ojeda could finish, it might have been. Ojeda's one of Ojeda's missed big chances is my worst of the week. It's on a breakaway. He has the whole half of the field to himself. Gets to the edge of the box. Ustari comes out and is like, go ahead, score on me. I'm caught in no man's land. I'm not blocking anything. And Ojeda just puts it in row, double Z. And like, that's bad. That's full on, you cannot miss that. But it didn't matter because Miami had no answer to anything. And they couldn't stop the direct ball. They couldn't stop anything over the top or playing behind. The defense was terrible. Miami's defense.
Real bad. Do you want to finish up with the last Sunday game?
LA Galaxy and LAFC. If I were doing winners and losers, everybody in LA is a loser today. I know it's a draw, whatever. Everybody in LA is a loser today. This is a 2-2 game. The Galaxy finally showed some spirit. That was nice. But LAFC had the lead going into this game, going into the later stages of the game, and then they let it slip away. That is not a good thing for them to do in a rivalry game anyways, but even worse against a team that is struggling as bad as the Galaxy. And what does that say about LAFC, who are trying to be legitimate title or trophy contenders this season?
I think you do throw a certain amount of it away because it is a rivalry match,
Sure.
and they're always going to play a little extra hard. It is a road match for LAFC, but LA Galaxy, they had further travel. They were poor but steady. They were missing some really big guys, but Marco Royce, 2 in the back of the net. I do like that. I think that he's, looking up, kind of looking to turn his stay there around a little bit. But I mean, another Christian Ramirez, that was just a bad. What are we doing? What are we doing, guys?
Yeah, it is. It is. I don't know. I did like Denny Bouanga's goal though.
Oh, I mean, he's heating up. He's heating up. And if Bouanga heats up, you know what that means.
Mm-hmm. But I look at this LAFC team though, and it's got to be okay, you've got to manage this game. I don't care how spirited the Galaxy are. I know it's a rivalry game, but the LA Galaxy are now, setting a new record every week for the longest, winless streak to start the season. At 14 now. Their season is over-ish. They're not. What can they do now?
And they signed their head coach.
And and Vanny just got an extension. If you're LAFC, the time has never been better to stamp your authority.
I agree.
That's a huge miss to me. I don't know. So everybody loses in LA land.
I do, and the fact that it happened on a free kick, would one guy more of on the wall have been enough? What did we need to solidify that one? It just, what a bad week of soccer, and I don't get to say that very often.
Yeah, it really was. It's just so many things that you're if you played them out again, they would never play out that way. LAFC should win that game handily. San Diego and Sporting Kansas City are never going 0-0 again. Never. So many of those that it's just what happened?
And it's continuing to this week. Forge FC is beating Montreal 1-0.
You remember what you were saying about who was it? San Jose? Was it last season or the year before? And you're saying these guys are not a professional soccer team?
Yeah.
I posit to you that it's Montreal.
I mean, my only thing with Montreal is I see what they're doing. They're not good, but they have a plan. They have a couple players. Rioni actually looks like he has a little spunk in him, to be honest. I know the results aren't there, but I think there's worse than Montreal. I mean, we talked about their ungodly long away streak, and now, they're not playing very well when they're at home. Maybe they're just throwing the match out here. I didn't really look at how many starters they have. I would guess that I probably wouldn't recognize 5 names on the starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not worried about them because they were never going to be good. So the fact that they're not winning games doesn't really get to me. I think that they're going to win games, and when they go on a little hot streak, we're going to make a lot of money on them. Those are the teams that you see, they're going to have a really easy stretch, and they're going to have a 3 or 4 home game stand, because that's what happens. I mean, if you play 6 games away, what happens? You're going to have a couple home stands. You're going to have some time when everyone else is on short rest, and you're at home and you're not even traveling. So I think I'm okay with them being bad. If that makes sense, that's maybe the more accurate.
I think the tough thing is I'm going to have a hard time ever trusting them enough to pick them for anything other than like an over, right? Because their offense is not really that good, but their defense is not that good. I'm going to look at their games and I'm going to be like, yeah, that other team could score some goals. Like, this could hit an over 2.5. Like, that's how I'm going to be grading them.
It's going to have to be like a plus 600, and you don't take the insurance. You just bet them straight up at plus 600 and just like, okay, I'm done. I'm not touching them again.
And hope for the best
this season. Yeah.
I don't know. I that's going to be my thing. I'm going to have a really hard time trusting them to be or do anything. And it's 6 this week, but like next week against Nashville, it'll be lower scoring and cagey, and I think they're going to be a hard team to pin down.
2 matches I really want to bet on this week: RSL hosting Vancouver, and Montreal hosting LAFC. I think we're going to get fantastic odds on both of those matches. And there's a few others: Toronto, Nashville, Sporting KC hosting New England. Didn't we just watch that game? I feel like we just watched that game.
I feel like we just watched that. I want to spend a minute on the RSL thing. Not to be a homer, but Diego Luna. Pablo Mastroeni recently said in a post-game interview that he thinks that Diego Luna is going to be off to Europe this summer. And that is very good for the league, very good for Diego Luna, the person, and to a certain extent good for the club, because that means more talent is likely to pick that team because there's a legitimate pathway to Europe there.
Sure.
He is the only player on the roster that still has 2 or more goals.
Yeah, it's rough. It's going to be like Andre Gomez Part 2. Except you don't have the winning record going into it.
Or a golden boot, striker left on the roster.
Yeah, that is a talent gulf. But the good news is you guys got room to make plenty of moves, and you might just have some incoming transfer fees in order to do that.
There's a lot of money sitting around. Hate to see Diego go, but he's so good. One of my favorite players right now. Absolutely right. I love that he and Emeka Eneli also have been called up to the Gold Cup squad. So that's going to be cool. Hopefully see both those guys get some time. I think this RSL team needs a huge investment in talent, top end talent, especially offensively. They've still got good bones in the defense, at the goalkeeper, in the midfield, but they need more contributors. Offensively.
Yeah, for sure. And, we're going to be here to talk about it each and every week. We are just 2 days away from our predictions. I already have a few in the tank here. Can't wait to see that. Make sure you join us 8 o'clock. We are due for a rebound week, so we hope to be bringing that to you guys. Thank you for tuning into the Designated Pundits. Make sure you find us on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Have a great week. Peace.